Over to Francesca. Thank you.
So I'm going to talk a bit about using drawing for professional reflection and information development. I'm going to say who I am and sort of how I got into this, and then 3 ways that I use drawing for reflection and for occupational therapy practice and occupational therapy theory. So this is me. I'm generally a bear, and I'm battling against the sea of sort of letters and words, and I'm currently studying occupational therapy, and I've got dyslexia and dyspraxia, and it kind of is a reflection on how I feel about words and writing and things. This says drown inside your own ambition, and again it's me, and I'm being crushed by a big wave which is barriers which are getting in the way of my ambition really. And what started me drawing was being on a really difficult practice placement, and doing drawing stopped me feeling completely overwhelmed and like I was drowning, and it also really deepened and enhanced my written reflective practice. So healthcare professionals have to do reflective practice for their continuing professional development, and that gives them a kind of stamp of approval so they can carry on practicing. There are lots of aims, but it helps you learn from your experiences, both good ones and bad ones, and helps you always strive to improve your own practice and work. Unlike you guys, we're taught like a Gibbs cycle, which is really focused on sort of incidents and events, and you sort of describe what happens and what you were thinking and feeling, and then what was good and bad about it, and then you're asked what your understanding and sense you made of the situation is, what else you could have done, like other actions, and then if it arose again, what would you do? And I think they're really useful, but they really lend themselves to dealing with events and incidents and things like that. But for me this seems quite a big hole, because health is I think it's quite an emotional subject, like being born and getting ill and dying, they're all quite emotional things. And from me, anyway, some of the most important things that I've experienced haven't been events, they've been things I felt, and it might have built up over quite a long time. So it's quite hard to isolate as a single event, and therefore analyse using a sort of written tool like this. So I find that drawing helps me to kind of capture and explore those feelings. So I'll go through some examples. This is me, and I'm looking out onto the occupational therapy world, and the door to that world is bird-shaped, and I'm a bear, and I'm bear-shaped, so I can't really fit through it. And I'm saying, but I can't fit through the door, because I'd really like to be in that world. And it's really sort of a reflection on, am I the right shape? Am I enough of an OT to be in that world and get in that sort of thing? This one says, I'm not convinced yet, are you? And it's a line of identical little OT birds, and they're on a really good concrete path to the door to OT jobs. As I'm training, most of my things are kind of related to getting a job. And I'm there, and I'm sort of putting on a bird costume to try and fit in. And it illustrates my feelings that although I'm wearing the uniform and I'm doing a good job, I still feel that I kind of stick out and I'm not very convincing. And it's partly a reflection on professional identity for OTs. And you might be aware, but as a profession, we're not always very good at explaining what we do. And so our roles are really poorly understood by other healthcare professionals, by patients, by the public, and by our friends and family as well, really. So that all acts to weaken our professional identity. And when you're a student, you're really trying to shape yourself into that professional image, but not having a concrete idea of what you're aiming for makes it really difficult and leads to feelings of insecurity and undermines your confidence in yourself as a professional. So maybe having people know exactly what OT was and what I did might not solve it, but I think it would help. In this one, I'm hiding from a big scary monster. And it says, you're the kind of person who dreams of being chased. And it's something that a patient I was working with said to me, and although I knew that they weren't very well and didn't have great insight, it really made me, it stuck with me, and really made me think about like how I come across to people and the confidence that that gives me, them in me, and as a professional. This one says makeup won't make you clean. And it's a lady I was working with on a ward, and the ward, some wards don't do patient laundry. It's a private hospital, and for this lady, her relatives visited once a week and bought her like one clean set of clothes that she had to wear the next week. And at the beginning of the week, in her nice clean clothes, had minimal makeup on and was very happy. And then as the week progressed, her clothes got more and more like food and dirt on them. And her makeup got thicker and thicker and thicker. And she said that this was because she felt so terrible and so disgusting in unclean clothes. She was quite a proud elderly lady, that this was the only way she could cope. And it really struck me as a sort of good sort of picture of how just hospital policies impact the health and well-being of patients and their ability to even like recover and feel better. This is a young child and his parents, and he's lost most of his hand in a lawnmower. He had this left. And there's a therapist leaving the room and saying to another therapist, they'll stick a toe in it and he'll be fine. And it's really about the contrast of like the NHS splitting people up into mental and physical, and just the contrast of like really competently dealing with maybe the physical part of a condition or like injury, and sometimes not quite holding the complex emotional reaction of the patient and their family in quite the same way, which maybe not, it's not life-threatening sometimes, but it's quite important. So the second type of drawings I've done are for OT practice. When I went on clinical practice, the information given to patients was not good enough to reproduce to be of much use, so it was just too blurry when you photocopied it. And we use quite a lot of sort of tools and equipment and things which have a certain knack to using them, which got me thinking. But most places that I visited didn't have any information for the patients at all. So I had a go. So OTs sort of enable people to do what they want to do as independently as possible, and often it's really simple tasks like lifting your legs into bed yourself. And so for this we use a leg lifter, and they're not rocket science, but it's really surprising how inventive people can be in using them. So I tried to make a kind of colourful, simple info sheet. Or putting their socks on themselves. And the sock aid is a bit controversial. People love it or hate it. There's definite knack to it. And I really need to learn to put things in boxes to make things clearer. But yeah, it's good to have a go. I tried to make it quite colourful to cheer it up anyway. OTs, a lot of our learning is, we're meant to learn it on placement, but we're not taught it, and you don't see everything. So this is one of the first drawings I did, so it's not great. But it's for assessing the suitability of a person's home for them to be discharged to. So looking for all the bits which they need to do and which could cause hazards to them. And it's just a visual prompt which I find makes things a lot easier for me to remember than just like a 4-page list or something like that. We do quite a lot of practical stuff, like putting in ramps and rails and that kind of thing. This is for OTs to help them remember how much to put blocks under a chair to raise it up so a person can get on and off it safely and easily. And yeah, it's just useful to have a visual guide to do it. Our textbooks are generally quite long-winded and wordy and don't have pictures. So I find it a lot easier if I have a picture. And just how to prepare to sort of clean someone's wound after surgery, how to make basic splints step by step, and then how to put it on correctly, which we expect patients to do, but how will they remember how to do this? Because it's quite contact. And we also use quite a lot of, sort of stuff we call daily living equipment. It's just stuff to use in your home to help you get dressed and make food and things like that. And so I've gone through and made some sort of guide to the equipment. And the information's really basic, and so are the pictures, but there are also some hints and tips which I've got from OTs along the way. And it is basic, but we don't come across a lot of this equipment, and it can be the difference between someone being able to do something and not. And it's in that way, it's kind of the core of our practice, and not knowing it kind of really undermines your own practice. So, yeah. So my future challenge is occupational. There is a laser on this, isn't there? Occupational science diagrams. Occupational science is like the theory and philosophy that underpins occupational therapy. And these are current diagrams that we have in our textbooks. And they're really big textbooks, and they're very long-winded and complicated, and I don't really like reading them. And I don't really get anything from these pictures, and I can't really understand them. I think they should be improved. They could be improved a lot. And I come from a biology background, and I'm deeply biased, but I really like our diagrams in biology. And I think that if we could bring occupational science diagrams a bit into the biology kind of diagram world, it would be brilliant. And so that's kind of my next challenge, is to improve occupational science diagrams. So that's about it, and I hope I've given you a bit of background.